This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday, September 14th, 2023 edition of the Iowa 911 Communications Council. Thank you for joining us here in the room and online. If I could please, Kara, could I get a roll call of the council?
Sure, are you good? Still have your echo, are you good? Chris Jasper. Chris Jasper?
I'm here.
Okay, all right. Jeff Miller?
Sarah Haberl is standing in for Jeff Miller.
Okay, or alternate Sarah, thank you. George Griffith?
I'm here.
Thank you. Mike Bryant? Is Tom Berger on? Tracy Bearden?
Here, I'm here.
Robbie Johannesson?
Here.
Rob Dinner?
Here.
Adam Wells?
Here.
Taylor Teeple?
Okay, thank you. If I could get a motion to approve today's agenda.
So move, Bearden.
Okay.
Second, Jasper.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Again, same sign. Motion carries. Likewise, could I entertain a motion for the approval of the August 10th, 2023 minutes?
So moved. Haberl.
Second,
Okay. All right, any discussion? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Again, same sign. All right. Blake, do you have a report for us?
Do, fairly brief. This might come up again later in discussion, but just for the good of everyone, making sure they're aware. With the bill that was passed last year for state government reorganization and realignment, there was a committee stood up and established to review boards and commissions. That process is kind of playing out now. As part of that, you're most likely aware that a number of recommendations were made to either maintain boards and councils and commissions, or merge them, or change them, or leave them alone, or to eliminate them. And the current recommendation from that committee is for the 911 Council to be eliminated. There has been a public hearing on that. One thing to keep in mind is that the 911 Council and all of these boards and commissions are statutorily created. So this committee's work does have to eventually turn into legislation. So they can make all the recommendations in the world. At the end of the day, it does have to be passed also legislatively as well. Just for total transparency, as part of that process, our department did receive kind of a questionnaire about the 911 Council and all of the boards and commissions that our department kind of works with. During that form, we recommended that the council stay in place. The committee, through their work, decided to make the recommendation to eliminate it. So really, you can talk at me until you're blue in the face. It doesn't do much good. You really do need to kind of work through the process. The email for public comment is up there on the screen. I would submit your comments through there, and then just, again, make sure to stay in tune with whatever comes out with their final report, and then through the legislative process starting in January. Any questions on that from anyone, or do you want to take comments on that later down the road? Yeah, okay, sounds good. Continuing on then, it is the time of year where we normally send out information on the annual forms that are due. We'll be getting that out this week. So as a reminder, you do have to submit the expenditure collection form. If that is not received by our office, we do have to withhold surcharge. So that form has been already updated on our website. That's the HSE&D website that it's posted on, so you can go get that, even before you get the email reminder. You also need to submit your updated service board membership And if there's any changes to your PSAP contact list, please provide that as well. All the details, all the links, all the deadlines will be contained in the email that we'll send out later this week. You have plenty of time on all of that at the moment, but I encourage you to get started as soon as you can. Finally, on this slide, we have been working through a process with a good handful of GIS specialists, as well as GeoCom, to update the Iowa 911 GIS data standards. A lot of that is just kind of aligning it with the updated NENA GIS data standards. So we're kind of on the final draft version of that, and then we'll get that out to everyone that works on 911 and GIS to make sure you kind of are familiar with the new standards. There's nothing too earth-shattering in there. And again, we've kind of involved a work group of GIS specialists to help advise us. As a reminder, for GIS grants, we've gone to monthly uploads as part of the benchmarks. You can see the benchmarks there listed on the left. Again, for the month of August, all 99 counties met the benchmarks. So everything, just like we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, we continue to kind of rise to the occasion, and everyone's meeting the benchmarks, which is great. Since we're actually using the data now, we need the updated information on a more regular basis. There will be, depends how you count it, 2 or 3 training applications to approve later on in the agenda. APCO and NENA, for the most part, have kind of the same contract. As a reminder to the council, we do have a standing approval for those, but we still kind of like to run them through and get formal approval up to $5,000, and that's what they've each claimed. And then Fayette County has requested fire dispatch training, and you can see the amounts listed there. Allie, did you have any updates on where the statewide training survey results are from last month?
Can you hear me? Okay. No real update. I know Blake and I are meeting, I believe, next week. Lizzie trying to kind of go over those results and kind of move forward from there. But I believe the survey is still open. I'll check it again later today. So if anyone wants to get any last comments or concerns or questions in there, feel free to do so.
Thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Lynn Warren for the update on shared services. Lynn, are you there? I actually don't know that I saw her. I see Brad from Zetron. Are you able to give the update, Brad?
I can give it a shot. All right, can you hear me okay?
We can.
So it looks like we got 2 upcoming deployments. We got Floyd and Decatur County with Harrison going live September 13th. I guess next slide. This shows our updated map of shared services. So we have everything in green is active. The stars are also active PSAPs. Everything in yellow here is pending implementation. So we got 2 that are pending with several others that are being quoted behind it. So if you want to be a part of the, or you want to receive the Iowa Insider newsletter, you can go ahead and shoot Lynn an email. Lynn is the project manager for Zetron over at Shared Services. Her email is right there. It's lynn.warren@zetron.com. And is that the last slide? Short and sweet.
Thank you, Brad. Good job on the fly. Any questions for Brad on shared services or me on any of the report? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to training fund requests then. We do have the Iowa Fall APCO NENA Conference. It's a $10,000 grant request, $5,000 each, entitled The Healthy Dispatcher, Back to Basics, and Create a Positive Work Culture. Is there anyone from APCO or NENA that wishes to speak on that?
I certainly can answer any questions. I think Blake included the request in our flyer there. We're excited to have folks from the Healthy Dispatcher come to Iowa. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer, or Kara can.
And I'll also say from the APCO standpoint, it's really awesome to have these speakers from this organization, the Healthy Dispatcher. We've had a lot of great reviews from them previously, from previous conferences that we've had them at, especially Adam Tim, who will be speaking for the APCO conference day. And I know a lot of our telecommunicators have really enjoyed his training that he's come out and taught.
All right, hearing no questions, then I would entertain a motion to approve the APCO-NENA conference request.
Griffith will so move.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second, Bearden.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Again, same sign. And just for the record, Kara did abstain from that vote.
I also did,
Okay.
sir, sorry.
Chris, okay. Noted, thank you. Okay, then Fayette County, $180 for fire dispatch training. Is there anyone from Fayette County who wishes to speak on that?
Brenda Wright is here. I don't really have anything to add unless you have any questions.
Do we have any questions?
The only thing I want to make note of is that on the application, it says minimum course participant is 5, and isn't our minimum for council funding 10? So just to make sure that there's 10.
I can change that if maybe. I honestly, we've always had a full class. Fayette County's given free training twice a year for the last several years, and we've never not been full. So I apologize for adding that wrongly. I can change that.
Yeah, I just wanted to put on for consistency, so down the road someone can't say, well, you proved it with 5 for somebody else. So it's just a technicality.
Okay.
And I'm sorry.
Okay, was there someone else there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is Chris. I just have a question too. So if I'm reading this correctly, there's actually 3 topics being presented, and you're just asking for funds for travel expenses for 1 speaker. Is that right?
There's actually 4, and yes, the answer is we are just asking. Only 1 speaker has required payment.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, with the changes that would be made to the application, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So move, Bearden.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Again, same sign. And motion carries. Okay, on to reports and officers, boards, and standing committees. Do we have any technical advisories? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the Iowa Statewide Interoperable Communication Systems Board. Ms. Nichols. Good morning.
Thanks very much, Chair. So a couple of things. We also had some changes to our board and based on the board and commission review. So I'll talk more about that at our board meeting, but I went to that public meeting and they're still taking public comments through the 17th. If anybody is interested in that. ISIC has had their skip scoping call, so our communications plan will be up for review over the next few months, and I will give the schedule for that in the board meeting. If anyone's interested or sits on those committees. There's a TA request that has been submitted to hold a COMEX next year in Story County, probably late spring, we believe. If that request is approved, that will be an opportunity for physician task books to be signed off on. So if that's something that anyone has somebody who's interested in, you might pencil that in. I will also be recruiting evaluators for that event. So if that's something that you do are interested in, please reach out to me. A couple other things on ISIX, we're going to be working with the National Weather Service to see if we can get them on the system. And also working with Minnesota. We currently have a crosswalk to have interoperability with those bordering states. And we want to use that technology and copy what's working best with our other bordering states. Yesterday, I was in a functional exercise in Illinois and Wisconsin. They had an interstate exercise, and for the first time, they used the same technology we're using to successfully patch their both state systems together. So it seems to be working for others as well, and we look forward to working with our surrounding states. If anyone's interested in being a part of those talks, or you're on the border and already have some stuff in place, I would be interested in hearing from you. We are working, Patrick and I are working with APCO to license our air-to-ground channels. We have policy on utilizing those for air ambulances, and that's going well. And then finally, we have received invitations to present on ISIX at IAMSA, the Emergency Management Association, and the State Fire School, which is next year early. And I think that outreach is really important for those personnel. I would be interested in other suggestions on where we could present on ISIX to stakeholders in the system. Maybe now that we're getting more and more agencies on, I think we're looking to share information with fire and EMS who may be thinking about coming on. And that is all I have for your board today.
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on, an update from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Chris Myers, are you on the line?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Good morning.
Super. Good morning. And thank you again, 911 Council, for the time to present today. Want to start off today with an update on the SAFECOM nationwide survey. You may recall that was extended into September, and we are in September now, so there's about 2 more weeks for agencies to take the survey. Again, the survey takes about 30 to 60 minutes to complete, and this data is aggregated nationwide to produce kind of a snapshot of how communications looks across the country. I don't have any updated numbers in front of me as of this point, as I've been on the road quite a bit this week, but I will say that Iowa's numbers, the last time I checked, were still very favorable, both with current responses and with theoretical responses as well, factoring in some sort of aggregation of potential responses through the end of the survey, which I believe goes until September 28th. If you have not yet taken the survey, or some of your agencies within your county have not yet taken the survey, please encourage them to do so. The more representation we can get from Region 7 states like Iowa, the better for us, as this data is incorporated into decisions on products, potential funding opportunities, and other things that the NDHS does in the emergency communication space. On the next slide, I'll start moving into some new products coming out. The SAFECOM Writing Guide for Standard Operating Guidelines was just released officially last week. This guide is intended to help communities and jurisdictions that are looking to develop SOGs to cover new products, new things that they may be incorporating into their operating picture. By no means is this an all-inclusive guide that is designed to address every issue, but it does highlight significant components that you could include in your SOGs that have been found to be effective elsewhere. Each section of this guide does include a brief introduction of why it's important to potentially consider including it, poses questions to consider as well as you're walking through your own process, and sample content for reference. Agencies, again, are encouraged to customize SOGs to their operating picture and to their capability or the resource that they're developing it for. And also, please consider the unique characteristics of specific states and jurisdictions as well that may be participating in the things that are covered by the guides. Things tend to vary widely from one geographic location to another, and those SOGs should reflect that. On the next slide, there was a new product released this week that is a little bit unique to public safety, but I would imagine that open source software is used in some way, shape, or form within the public safety space within Iowa. This guide, again, was just released the other day. It does lay out a concept of what CISA views as its path forward to help ensure that open source software and the ecosystem that it lives within is secure. The thing that's unique about open source software is that it's not typically designed by for-profit entities. Rather, it can be accessed, modified, or distributed by really anybody that has a knack for programming. While this can facilitate very rapid development, it also opens up the door for potential security holes. And within this document, CISA does establish 4 key priorities. Number 1, establishing CISA's role in facilitating and supporting the security of open source software, driving visibility as to what is actually in the source code for each package, and how its usage can bring in risks, potentially depending on the implementation. And then it goes on to talk about reducing those risks as open source software may be incorporated into an operating picture. And then, of course, it talks about the goal of hardening the open source ecosystem. If your IT people, and that's who this resource is geared towards, have any feedback, CISA is seeking some suggestions on that, and they can be emailed to opensource@cisa.dhs.gov. One last new product to note, this may have a nexus to public safety as well, and that is the topic of deepfakes. This document was released a couple of days ago by CISA, the National Security Agency, and the FBI. This document does provide an overview of all those types of synthetic media threats, current techniques, and recent trends that have been observed. It does encourage agencies and their organizations and employees that be mindful that you are vulnerable to these types of attacks, and that's kind of what we'll call them here. It can be done through fake online accounts that are used in social engineering. It can be fraudulent text and voice messages that are used to avoid technical defenses, but of course with fake text messages and fake videos, if you start looking towards the 911 system and the way the public calls and reports, this could very easily be something that spills over into that as well. And of course, that gets into the topic of fake videos to spread disinformation. Keep in mind that there may also be some other things that come into play, such as impersonation of executives or elected leaders, such as officials within your county or state or other jurisdictions. So please keep in mind that deep fakes are out there. They're becoming easier and easier to access, create, and distribute. And it would be well served by public safety to be mindful of those threats. On the last slide, regional news of note. There are a couple of courses that are out there. One is ongoing right now in Dodge City, and that is an Incident Tactical Dispatcher course. We do have a COML coming up in late September in Fort Leonard Wood. And of course, a couple of other interoperability boards are meeting near the end of September. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that Cybersecurity Awareness Month is next month as well. And CISA Region 7 is going to be hosting a series of webinars on cybersecurity awareness. And on week 2, which would be October 11th, is geared towards emergency services. Iowa's very own Blake DeRushi is going to be giving some insights on Iowa's 911 network and how that has been designed to be available and have a high level of integrity and confidentiality and security as well. So Blake will be a guest speaker for that webinar. We really appreciate his assistance on that. And again, we're looking forward to hosting that October 11th. The sign-up flyers will go out tomorrow with my normal email, and you can distribute that to anybody. With that being said, Mr. Chair, that's my report for the month. I can take questions.
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, thank you, Chris. All right, I don't believe we have any 34A administrative code or baseline knowledge for 911 communications professionals committee reports, but if I'm wrong, please point that out. Okay, and then moving on to legislative issues, definitely, as Blake has pointed out already, there's definitely a legislative issue that needs attention. Just from my point of view, I'm just going to mention, I don't think that the people in this room, any single person in this room has the perfect knowledge, the know-it-all of PSAPs and 911 in general. Individually, we don't have a person who could talk about all the technology, the hardware, the people component, the vendor components, all that. But collectively, it's a pretty important and useful council. And I really do not know where we would be in a lot of PSAPs if we did not have this council in operation to hear of best practices, troubleshooting. I can't tell you how many times somebody has asked me about a problem that they have experienced with their PSAP, where of course I wouldn't know the answer to their problem, but I did know somebody that had been down that road and had solved the problem, and we put them together. It's a great organization that prevents people from having to recreate their own wheels from time to time. And so if you find this council to be useful to you, and I hope that you do, I would really ask you to contact your legislators, the governor's office, and let them know how important this council is and how its absence would be felt throughout the state. It is not going to help 911 communications in the state to lose this council, in my opinion. And if you agree with me, I really hope that you reach out to the people that matter, who make these decisions, to explain to them how important it is. So that's my soapbox.
All right.
Yes.
Tara, I want to just echo, from wearing I represent IEMA, and I think it's important to recognize that the individual agencies that have representation on the 911 Communication Council, this is their kind of lifeline to 911 and receiving that information. And I know some IEMA members emailed me and they had concerns about just that ability to share information that'd be lost upstream, that they wouldn't have that voice that they have being on the council, especially when they are members on the 911 service board. So I think that just kind of think about all the different organizations that have a representative on the communication council and that information that they receive from it. And we all acknowledge that Blake can't do anything. Benson can't do anything, Director Benson can't do anything, but you can reach out. And I think that's why we're kind of making comments, just to make sure that you see all the different perspectives here. But it is a very important council.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other legislative issues that I'm not aware of? Okay, do we have any information sharing by council members? Okay, hearing none. I don't have any unfinished business or new business or old business or travel requests. Do we have any business from the floor in this room? Okay, do we have any business on the floor for the people who've joined us virtually? Okay, I don't believe we have any 911 issues at the PSAPs that I'm aware of. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Bearden.
Do I have a second?
Second, Haverhill.
Okay, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
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 Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.